What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Every year we do this. We get to do this show in front of you guys, and it was awesome last year. I thank you guys for coming out again to watch. We're gonna have a great time as we get ready for one of the biggest fight cards of the entire year. We're gonna engage you guys. We wanna take your questions. We've got some guests. It's gonna be a fantastic hour. But guys, before we get started, we gotta roll out the red carpet. Last night, our guy, the most popular bad guy of all time, went into the Hall of Fame. And he said something last night. He said, hey, hard times don't last, but bad guys do. And the bad guy lasts. Ladies and gentlemen, bring up our Hall of Famer, Chael Sonnen.
My man, that was a great introduction. Thank you, brother. Where do I go? Is this seat for good-looking badasses? Oh, here we go. I'll take this one.
That seat is for new Hall of Famers.
Thank you, brother.
Right there. Chael, how was last night standing out there, making that final walk? Because we all love the walk. Man, it's the most special thing with the crowd and the fans. How was it to make that final walk last night, hearing your music?
It's funny you say that, because as fighters, we do pretend that we love the fight, but it is easily the worst part. It's the walkout or even the walk back, that brief moment, say with Joe Rogan, for example. That's what motivates you and makes you want to come back. It's not to punch a guy or to be punched at. So just to your point, it was special, and I didn't know what it was going to be. I was looking forward to it, and I was proud. My mother came, things like this. But when they hit my actual walkout music, and my son crashed the party, he came with me. He was not supposed to. He just got up and left the green room. And what am I supposed to say to him, right? So really Charlie let him go.
You really don't do him anything, because a couple weeks ago, we're doing our show. Guys, we're doing our show. Chael's at Bristol. He's in front of the camera. His son is chucking chocolate at him the entire time.
Yes, Starburst. Starburst cans. He took those from Stephen A's desk. I was at Seaport. He went to Stephen A's room, which he's not supposed to go in.
No.
He took his Starburst and then threw them at me for 40 minutes.
Your son had one of the greatest moments that we've ever had when he was talking about George Masvidal, and when asking him why he thought he could beat George Masvidal, he said he figured he would because he is a four-letter word and then another four-letter word.
Yes.
How was that conversation with your wife, explaining that your son was cussing on ESPN?
That wasn't good. No, that was out of character for him. I was actually quite surprised when he did it, and then his teachers and whatnot at school saw it, but they thought I had put it up, like they thought he was just performing and following a script. The whole thing got a little bit off course, man. I don't like him cursing like that. And by the way, he can't talk to Masvidal like that. Masvidal will beat my son's ass. My son's only 9 years old.
Well, somebody needs to protect your kid, because clearly you can't. Because, guys, we're in Miami. George Masvidal so threatening to Chael. Chael walked around the whole week with 5 security guards. Chael, that was a bad weekend for the bad guy.
I was embarrassed by it. I was embarrassed because they got me. George made a threat, so they got me security, which I thought was their concession of saying they didn't think I could take George. George could have come to me with 5 friends. When that was done, him and his 5 friends would have realized they should have brought more people.
Hey, you know what's sad about this job we do is that when Chael and I talk about people, everybody wants to kick our ass. So Nate Diaz was going to beat me up, and George was going to beat Chael up. So that whole weekend, Chael and I had security details in Miami to just ensure that nobody got to us. Let's take a question. Who's got something? Who's got something? Go ahead, my man. No. Somebody's got to have a question, and then we got a microphone. There it is. Go ahead. What you got?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I've had one too many drinks. Can you tell me a time you've had one too many drinks?
How many times I've had one too many drinks?
Yeah.
Last night, probably.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah.
Somebody else. Go to that microphone.
Hi, my name's Zach. I just wanted to say, now that you guys are both in the Hall of Fame, what was both of your guys' favorite fights in your UFC career?
Chael?
My proudest moment was against a guy named Yushin Okami, and nobody saw it. We were on the undercard. I was ranked number 9. He was ranked number 2. And performance-wise, I ended up getting the outcome, but performance-wise, I thought I was at my best and nobody knew it happened. So there you go.
You know, I had some moments in my career, some great moments, and look at that lady. I love her right there. She has a sign that says, "I'm the Michael Jordan of commentary." I said it to Dominic Cruz one time. He was picking on me again. But my best performance was probably against Dan Henderson. I just felt like everything was working. No matter what I tried, I was trying moves that I practiced with like my high school kids, and they were working. And sometimes, like the basketball goal gets big for Michael Jordan. That's what it felt like that night when I fought Hendo. It was amazing.
There was fun moves. You did fun moves against Henderson. Can I tell you, I think your best performance, prior to that, John Jones were the ones that stand, but it was Josh Barnett.
Oh, yeah.
Five rounds with Josh Barnett. He outweighed you. He out-experienced you, man. Josh Barnett is a top 5 heavyweight ever, and if you don't say that, I don't talk to you, because you lose credibility. Like, the conversation is over. You beat him.
That one hurt me bad. Guys, I'll take one more, and then
All
guess
right,
what?
thank you.
Guys,
DC.
Hold on. Before you go, I'll take one more question. Then we got our first guest. You guys are gonna like it. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chael, I don't want to ruin your image as the bad guy, but I just want to say last night we were there, and when everybody else left the stage, you stayed out all the way until everybody got a chance to shake your hand. You stayed out. You're the good guy. We love you, buddy. I just have a quick question.
That's very nice. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. In the back room last night, Vanderlei was there. Did you let him get close?
Yes, I did, but it was dark. I didn't know it was him. And by the way, he's got a presence. Like, there's an aura around Vanderlei that is quite frightening at some time. And so I turned around, and I was shaking his hand, and then I realized it was, and I almost did that, like, but he was cool. We gave a hug, and he didn't want to talk too much, but he did say hi. By the way, not for nothing, I wasn't being nice to you last night. I actually took your wallet and your watch. You should go check for them.
Thank you.
The bad guys. Guys, y'all ready for guests? Y'all ready for a guy? Hey, this guy, blood, sweat, and tears. This guy has given his entire life to the sport of mixed martial arts. This guy's competed for multiple world championships. He's come up short, but in his last fight, I think he gained more in a defeat than most people gain with wins. So, why don't you guys help me in welcoming the Diamond of Lafayette, Louisiana, Dustin Poirier. Oh, here he comes on that side.
What is up, Dustin? I didn't know you were joining us. How are you, buddy?
Guys, Dustin Poirier obviously just fought at UFC 302 for the lightweight championship of the world. DP, my first question to you is, one of the reasons we did a check-in for our podcast that you and I have on my YouTube channel that you agreed to, retirement. So many were disappointed with the idea that you were retiring. It's been a few weeks now. Some time has passed. Any change, or are we still kind of on the fence?
I'm definitely still on the fence. Like, I know I can beat these guys. I can still compete with the top guys in the world. It's just, am I going to get another title shot? How many more times do I need to fight? Who do I need to beat to get there? That's the battles I'm kind of fighting between my ears. I don't know if I'm done yet. I can still go. The kid can still go.
Yeah, you can still go for sure.
Man, they've been asking him that everywhere we've gone. They started a chant earlier of one more fight, and he just got done telling me in the back, he said, I'm done unless there's something interesting. But Daniel, think about that. When you have a guy in his last 3 fights, he fought for 2 titles, one being the BMF that only a small handful of guys have ever got to try for. Another one is a world title main event against the GOAT, and he gave him his hardest fight. Like, what would be interesting for Dustin? He's fought Conor McGregor 3 times. Like, his definition of interesting is different. And you know what? You wonder why I'm telling you this? Because he wants to hear from you. He's letting you know it doesn't have to be 55. It can be 70. It can be a catchweight. Look at both divisions and get back to him on what the fight is. I think that's how I interpreted interesting fight. Am I right?
Exactly. When I hear a name that gets those feelings going that I'm nervous, like when they called me with the Gaethje BMF fight, I said, this is dangerous. I got to do it. I felt nervous. I felt intimidated. I was like, this is a big fight. Somebody's going to get hurt. I had to do it. Give me that name, and I'll do it.
Dustin, when you think about the journey, there wasn't a lot of fanfare that followed you into the UFC. But right now, you are one of the most beloved fighters in the world. What does it mean to you to have not only the support of the organization, but the support of these people out here who just love Dustin Poirier?
It means the world to me, man. Thank you guys so much. I think, thank you guys. I think a lot of people who've, of course we have newer fans, but people who have been a fan of mixed martial arts for the long run have seen the Fightville documentary, seen me come up since 2010-ish, fighting in the WEC, making my way to the UFC, climbing my way up the 2 divisions. And I appreciate everybody who's been along for the long ride, because it's been a crazy road, and thank you, man.
By the way, Dustin, I've just always wanted to ask you, when you and Gaethje got done with your second fight, Gaethje said to you, okay, we're one apiece, let's call it good, and you said, I'm not going to guarantee you that deal. What, do I have that right? And did that ever go any further? Like, when you have a fantasy of something that you might like to do again, do you ever trilogy fight?
I think he told me, he said, let's never do that again. And I said, well, let's get it on ping pong table tonight, because I'm gonna beat you there.
All right, somewhere. But that's a fight, right? Justin Gaethje Justin Gaethje, I get confused. Justin, there's a lot of you guys. But so, Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje for a third time, 2 guys that maybe aren't fighting for the belt now. That seems interesting to me. That seems interesting to these people.
You know, I don't like to leave things unsettled. We are 1-1 with 1 KO apiece. So the rubber match, I don't know. We got to see.
So you know what the crazy thing is? Like, the most violent experiences for you are the ones that we, the fans, enjoy the most. And I think that's probably like my favorite part of retirement, is I get to watch you guys bludgeon each other, and I don't have to worry about messing up this. See this?
It's nice.
By the way, what's up with the dress code here? You decided not to. What's going on? You got the T-shirt on. We're out here all slicked up. Like, what? Are you feeling a little?
You wanna? You remember, right? You told me right afterwards you feel good for me because I get to work with you. Whoa, it's my show.
You're right.
Do whatever I want.
And
Carry on,
dress code,
carry on.
Speaking of the dress code, I think Chael did everybody a disservice by not wearing the Hall of Fame jacket up here.
He should have.
Thank you, my brother. They actually took it back. They said that the sleeves were the wrong size. They were going to go fit it different. I would have worn it, man. I was very proud. It was a fun moment.
I know what I'm going to ask.
DP.
I'm going to be smart about it.
International Fight Week is one of the biggest fight cards of the year. You headlined this with Conor McGregor. Speak to the importance and the significance of getting the fight when all of this surrounds that fight week.
The aura of Fight Week feels so much different on International Fight Week. I've probably had 27, 28 fights in the UFC before I headlined International Fight Week. And for weigh-ins, when we went out there, the stadium was packed as far as you can see. It was packed like a fight night would be. I've never seen that energy at a weigh-in. It was insane. Thank you, everybody, for flying out, showing support to your fighters. International Fight Weeks, from your side, is incredible, but from the athlete side, it's just a different feeling.
Dustin, what do you make of that? Like, I feel like nobody's really more qualified to speak on Conor than you. You speak about a guy, but if you get in there and face him, like, the rules kind of change. I mean, what did you think when he pulled out? I would imagine, even with your guys' past, you're a bit of a fan. I mean, I would imagine you'd want to see him fight Chandler. You know both those guys. You've been in there. Do you feel a disappointment not having that match this weekend?
I'm excited about the card we have Saturday, but seeing Conor come back from the injury is a big deal, you know? But one of them little piggies went to the market.
Who would have won? Who would have won, Chandler or McGregor?
Only the MMA gods know, but I was going with Conor. I thought the way Chandler covers distance, you can't move that big of movements to close space on a guy like Conor. He's going to snipe you with a clean shot, his timing, his range. I thought Chandler was going to run into something. And Chandler's not chinny, but he has been down a few times, and you can't have that when you face a guy like Conor. You just can't have that.
Eddie Alvarez talked about the speed of Conor McGregor. It was like 2 years after they fought, but is that real? Like, is he as fast as Eddie says he is?
He's fast for sure. It's his timing, his counterboxing, but he's kind of like a magician out there. He looks like he's not in range, and then you get hit. You're like, how'd he hit me from this far? I thought I was safe. He has a weird timing, and he uses his length perfect for his skill set.
Is that everything or just the left hand?
No, just the left hand.
Okay.
Dustin, before we let you go, Conor's not fighting, as you said. Alex Pereira takes on Yuri Prochazka. Who do you think wins this fight?
So we've been talking about this all day. In the first fight, which I've watched a bunch of times, Yuri was winning. The judges gave him the first round. I gave him the first round. I was giving him the second round. I thought he was up. And he had Alex hurt against the fence. He made one small mistake and paid for it. And with a guy like Alex, there is no mistakes you come back from when it comes to striking. So if Yuri changes his strategy, moves more laterally, watches out, switches stance, doesn't take those calf kicks, I'm going Yuri.
Wow, that's a lot of ifs, though.
Yeah,
You
that
just
if
said,
was a
like,
fifth.
I mean, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But like you said, you said if. Now, Dustin, Brian Ortega also fights
For sure.
against Diego Lopez. Who you got in that one?
Even though he missed weight, I'm going Ortega. I just think the experience, he's been in title fights, but who wins the hair battle in that fight? The quality of hair, who wins that? That's the fight nobody's talking about.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'll take 2 questions for Dustin Poirier before we let him go. We got the first one over here. Go.
So 2 things, Dustin. You train with Armand.
Stop. I said 2 questions total. You said 2 things.
Gotcha.
Next question. Nope, you blew it. No, all right, come back. I'm just kidding. Okay, all right.
Dustin, you train with Armand at American Top Team. You fought against Islam. Who do you favor in that matchup? And then also, Chael, I'm the guy that got swung at by Arman Sarukian at UFC 300.
You're a hero. You didn't sue him. You're a good man.
Hey, you
I
did
read
not
what
sue
you
him.
did.
Thank you.
I didn't. I'm not about that, you know?
You're the reason we don't have a lightweight title fight.
You actually wished to, yeah, he's the reason Sakari is suspended. Did you taunt him? What did you do? Be fair.
I'm a big Charles fan, Charles Oliveira, so I was obviously rooting for Charles Oliveira, and I was just flipping the guy off. We made eye contact.
Yeah, you don't flip a guy like Arman Sarukian off, man.
But, hey, I didn't sue, though, because I'm not about that. But who do you favor in that title match coming up in October?
I think Islam's striking has really evolved. I think he's made leaps and bounds with the striking. Arman's going to have a tough time taking him down, so I think the fight will be on the feet until Islam decides to take him down. I just think Islam's striking's a little bit more crisp. His boxing's a little bit more crisp right now. So if it stays on the feet, I'm going to Islam. Obviously, the grappling, probably Islam, so that's who I would pick.
All right, last one for Dustin.
This is a question for Dustin and DC. If you had to pick one Louisiana food to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
You want me to go first?
You
Because
got
I'm
it.
from Louisiana.
Wait, I'm from Louisiana. Stop doing that.
Oh.
Because now, hey, you do that so much.
I know you're
that
gonna-
people are now calling you the king of Lafayette. That's crazy.
Hey, one of us up here, if we pull out our IDs, our license, one say Gilroy, California, and one will say Lafayette, Louisiana.
I swear to God. This dude, see? This guy. See, Dustin? All right, man. All right, Dustin, what do you got?
I'm going gumbo.
Yeah.
Gumbo. I was almost going to say jambalaya, but I'm going gumbo.
I was going to say, like, red beans and rice, but gumbo is like the classic Louisiana dish that tastes so good. And honestly, I started cooking it, and I'm opening a restaurant with Coach DC's Louisiana gumbo. So if you're ever in Gilroy, California, you can
In
get
Gilroy
some gumbo.
only.
Oh, shut up, Dustin Poirier.
I'm gonna open one in
Everybody,
Lafayette,
Give it
Louisiana.
up from Dustin Poirier.
Thank you, Dustin.
All right, guys. So, we're here for UFC 303. Chael, Yuri Prochazka is challenging Alex Pereira for a second time. Have you run into Pereira at all this week, or what have you taken in terms of his media and everything else that he does, and what do you make of it?
Well, I buy it. I mean, he's got some pretty strong interviews, and it's never against his opponent, but it does speak to his own confidence. I can back up. He's the guy that saved UFC 300 and offered to take on Tom Aspinall to do it. That was not just hyperbole for headlines. He would have fought Tom Aspinall. He offered to fight anybody this weekend. They gave him anybody. Nobody wants to fight Prochazka. You fight him when you have to. Nobody wants to do a rematch.
Yeah.
You do it when you have to. You got a kickboxer with an amateur record. He's only done this 10 times. He's never had a wrestling match. He has no belt in jiu-jitsu that I'm aware of, and he's now the leader within our locker room.
I think he's just got a brown belt.
He got a brown belt now.
He knocked out somebody and got promoted in jiu-jitsu. I've never seen it before in my life.
And fair enough, but I'm just speaking to DC, like, I don't know what is so great about this guy. He comes in there, he must have power, he's not overly dynamic, but he makes it work. And you want to know one thing he does do? He will dare his opponent. He will step right into range right away. If you're a wrestler, he will step right to where you can take him down. If you're a striker, he'll step right where you can punch him. That's pretty cool, but it's not overly unique. And I mean, this guy, he's in the conversation for GOAT only 10 fights in. Come on, this guy's special.
It's unbelievable what he has done. Now, guys, I know you're taking in all the fight week stuff. Chael, we don't get this often. Yuri Prochazka is accusing Alex Pereira of voodoo.
Yeah.
I have never in my life seen someone get accused of voodoo. He said he is using the native powers. And then, bro, did you see they squared off, shook hands? Yuri did the sign of the cross.
Yes.
Yuri's terrified.
Yeah.
Is that showing Pereira too much? Because that can be perceived as a weakness because you're like, yo, I can't figure this guy so bad that I think he's doing voodoo.
And just to add to your story, when he said he thought he was using it, he asked him not to. He said, I don't think you can win without it, and he asked him not to
I'm
use
using the shit out of that voodoo.
Yeah, you'd have to. And it's like George Costanza told Jerry one time, if you believe it, it's real. And it's one of those things with Prochazka, like there's a lot of things that he offers that I can't relate to, I've never heard of, but he's good, man. He's a good fighter. Can I tell you something? Old teammate of yours, King Mo Lawal. But I had lunch with Mo Lawal, and he had fought Prochazka twice.
Yep.
Now, the first time they fought, he didn't know who he was. They went out there. Mo beat him. In fact, Mo TKO'd him. Mo went in the back while he's still sweaty. He's taking his gloves off, and he's telling his manager and coach, don't ever sign me to fight that guy again. And he just beat him. Well, they did sign him to fight again, and Prochazka was able to flip it. But a lot of it was because of the respect that Mo had. Mo had learned things about Prochazka that you can't see by watching him. He learned about a grit. He learned about when he hit him hard, that Prochazka would smile and step forward. Little things that you don't see from camera. And I'm only telling you that because Pereira also learned something about Yuri. We just don't know what that was. We don't know if it was the same kind of respect that Mo left with. We don't know if it was, I don't ever want to see that guy again, but here he is and his ego's too big. I'm just sharing for you. They both learned about each other. What's going to be different this time? That's a question every rematch gets asked and has to be able to answer. I'm curious what that answer is.
You know, I just don't know if Yuri's had the time to make the adjustments he needs because those calf kicks that Pereira uses are so good and so effective that you're essentially limited in movement. So when you're stuck in front of him, he just knocks you out. It really is a sight to be next to the octagon and watch as he operates. You know, he's so intimidating that when people are in front of him, they start doing weird stuff. Like Yuri's like doing all kind of samurai stuff. Jamal Hill's like waving at him. Pereira, don't get me mispronouncing his name, is just staring at you. I'm telling you, man, I've said this a few times. It's almost like we're talking about, hold on. It's almost like we're talking about those tall tales that we would get as children, where Paul Bunyan cut down the big tree,
Sure.
right? Or you learned of a guy that swam across the Nile River, because the stories get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is what Alex Pereira is starting to build. You go to your friend, I can walk up to anybody. Have you guys heard of the UFC fighter? He got kicked low, stopped the referee, 5 seconds later, he knocked him out, right? Yep. You remember the UFC guy that was losing 4 rounds to 1 or 3 rounds to 1 to Adesanya? Coach told him he had to get a knockout, he knocked him out. He won title after title. He's becoming so big that he's gaining a bit of a legendary type of aura about him. And I think that is why Yuri Prochazka's saying that he's using voodoo or something, because he just can't explain it.
I was at ESPN. John Jones had just fought, I believe it was OSP. I had to go give an analysis of John Jones, and I'm a professional. They have hired, man, with the worldwide leader. Daniel, I was this close to saying that God had chosen him. I had to catch myself because that's ridiculous. I almost couldn't explain because John was so talented in this field compared to other guys. But I'm seeing that with Pereira. If I may make a point, many people are taking Yuri Prochazka for this reason. They did one completed round in New York. All the judges gave that to Yuri. I would just remind those people as a counter argument, Pereira turns on when he can see the barn in sight. When the house is on fire and he's running out of time, that's when he is his most dangerous. Like some guys, you got to beat them by the math, get 3 rounds, and then you can coast 2. This guy, you can never take your eye off him. He will stop you, and he doesn't get frustrated. He doesn't take inventory and realize, okay, I'm down. He realizes what he needs to do, and he goes out and gets it done. The guy is very unique in only 10 fights. Wow.
Very unique, guys. That is a fantastic main event that headlines UFC 303 this weekend. Pereira, Prochazka 2, goes down to the T-Mobile Arena. Questions? We got 2. Let's go. You got to be at that Talk to me.
All right. What is y'all's go-to post-fight meal?
When I was fighting,
Yeah.
my post-fight meal, anything I can get my hands on. Making 205 was not fun, my guy. Chael, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I went to catechism to make my communion. I went to confirmation classes. And I never prayed more than when I would get ready to step on a scale when I was fighting.
Sure.
I always felt like I was back in my Sunday school classes because I would say so many prayers for that scale to say 205 or less. One quick question. You know one thing? I never weighed any less than exactly 205.
Sure. Did you have a digital scale in your room? Did you check?
Digital scale. I had a weight scale. I had a lot of tricks in regards to that scale.
Daniel, I know some of them. I know one of them. Daniel, the number one reason an athlete, a fighter, will take the microphone and say he's retired is because he's had enough of the sport. Thank you and goodbye. But the number one reason athletes retire is they don't want to beat the scale anymore. I've never heard a guy say I'm retiring because of it, but it's the truth. I mean, all the way down to when they were renegotiating with Khabib and throwing him a bunch of money, I remember looking at that situation and going, you guys are looking at the wrong number. Make the weight class 170. You just might get him for to try to beat 30 and up.
Khabib said he turned down $40 million.
Yes.
To fight. That's how bad he didn't want to fight. One more.
Oh, I didn't answer your question, by the way. I can tell you my post-weigh-in meal was a club sandwich.
Oh.
Yes, shepherd's pie. What kind of a guess is what am I going to do with a shepherd? Where would I even get a shepherd's pie?
Because you're white and you live in Oregon. I figured y'all eat shepherd's pie. I figured y'all eat shepherd's pie. Or maybe like a pot pie or something. I just met your mom. She looks like she makes a mean pot pie.
My mother can cook. I don't know if I've ever had shepherd's pie.
Go ahead.
Who do you think is winning the 2 Fight of the Night bonuses on Saturday?
And what happened with those? Dana made those. What happened with those?
Somebody said yesterday, because Dana said 2 fights are probably the 2 last fights will win Fight of the Night. So someone said, well, instead of picking between those 2, why don't you just both give them Fight of the Night bonuses?
Oh, wow. All right. But he said yes, he agreed to it. All right. Either way, I will tell you who I think. I think that Ortega and Lopez is going to surprise some people. And I'll tell you a great fight nobody's talking about, but it's a true BMF of the sport, Cub Swanson. And what people don't know is that he is healed. Cub has been dealing with a back injury his better part of a decade. He actually got that healed. This is the first training camp where he didn't have to take almost 2 weeks off. That's a little inside scoop I'll share with you. And then Andre Touchy-Feely, man, he's good to look. He's hard to look good against. He's very scrappy. There's some guys that are martial arts. There's some guys that are fighters. Both of these guys are fighters.
2 of these fights will get bonuses. I think it'll be the Lopez fight. And I honestly think that we're going to see a great fight between Ian Gary and MVP. That's going to be a tremendous one. All right, guys, Chael. Brian Ortega, well, we didn't tell you, but their fight got moved to 155, right? Diego Lopez, it was thought it was on the Brian Ortega side. Now, I've got a little more information. Diego Lopez went to bed last night on weight. They woke him up in the middle of the night to tell him the fight was getting moved up to 155. So now this kid's drinking and putting on weight to be able to fight this weight class. Now that the fight's moved up, who does it benefit? Does it benefit Ortega or does it benefit Lopez, being that he was in shape? He was the one that was able to get down to the number. He was disciplined. Or is the guy, we saw it last week with Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum didn't even try to make weight against Daniel Rodriguez. We have a bit of a same situation this week, especially considering Ortega was one of the later guys to weigh in. Whose benefit is this?
Well, it's a very real dynamic. I mean, on one hand, physically, I wouldn't say that there's much of a difference. I don't care if a 45-pounder fights a 55-pounder. I didn't care back in the day when they didn't weigh him in and Hoist Gracie beat them all no matter what they weighed. I will just share with you, there is something to be said for losses. There's something to be said for momentum. Yesterday, when this fight was scheduled, Ortega's coming off a big win over Uriel Rodriguez, and Lopez is coming off 5 wins, and what are you going to do from there? And Lopez was the favorite, even though Ortega was ranked higher. Like, that's a really interesting storyline, but it's not an unbeaten guy versus unbeaten guy. Ortega just lost. He lost today to the scale, and I don't know what to make of that within his own mind. You missed weight for a reason. It's physiology. It's calories in versus calories out. You either ate too much or you didn't train hard enough. I don't know which one it is. It's got me a little bit rattled. I really thought that that's the one the odds makers had wrong. I thought Ortega was going to win this fight, and now I am questioning it.
Chael, is it relief? I mean, has that ever happened? Have you ever been woken up and said, you get to gain 10 pounds?
I woke a guy up named Tim McKenzie, and I offered him $1,000 per pound that he would let me miss weight by, and there was a cap on it or something, and he said no, and so I got the weight off, but no, it's never happened in reverse. I would be quite excited. I would love that very much.
I would love it.
Yeah.
So when I was going to fight Jones, and I ended up fighting Anderson, they said, you're going to fight Anderson Silva. I begged them to make the weight 210. I didn't want to lose the last 5 pounds. I was like, well, it's not a title fight. Can I just weigh 210? They're like, please just make the weight. So while being the heavier guy, was looking forward to getting the extra weight, whereas Diego made the weight.
Sure.
I couldn't imagine the feeling. That's why when he got on the scale, he looked like he was about to cry. They're so disappointed in the lack of professionalism from the opponent that it's hard for those guys to reset. But I'm going to tell you that Diego Lopez, man, he is an absolute savage. And Brian Ortega better be ready, because if he isn't, that kid's going to buzz through it.
I agree. And if I could just explain the situation to the audience, because this is the new thing where guys call and they get a contact trains at 3 in the morning, and I don't know how much I like this, but maybe that's because I'm more of a traditionalist. The way that it used to work, you showed up to the scale, the dude missed weight, yeah, you were mad, and you're talking about what an unprofessional, and I pulled it off and you didn't, but the exchange was you took 20% of his purse. You call the guy at 3 in the morning, you get him to agree to a weight change, it's even money now. And so that's one of the things. If I was Lopez, I said, go ahead and miss weight. I would have hung up on him, and I would have taken his 20% of the scale.
He still gets the 30%, yeah? Last week, Kelvin Gastelum had to give up 30% of his purse because they had to go up. If Diego Lopez does not get some of that money, it's a horrible mistake on his part. And it's also bad for Ortega, because Ortega said he wants to give $100 grand to charity.
Sure. If I could just share the distinction, it's a slight distinction. The rules I personally find interesting, but Kelvin got to the scale and missed the weight, so the commission takes the money. There's no agreement you can make after that. Even if the other guy says no, the commission handles it and gives you the check. When you call a guy at 3 in the morning and you get him to change the bout agreement, he didn't miss weight. He changed the weight from 145. Ortega officially did not miss weight. He made lightweight.
See, that is spoken like a true bad guy.
But it's a big difference, right? If you're Lopez, you got to know that difference.
You're a politician. Aren't you the mayor of that town you live in?
No, I should be. I should be the governor of the whole state. I run the place.
You're being a politician right now.
No, I was actually
You are working within the words of the rules. I get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
You are like operating within the words of.
Yes.
Well, you didn't technically miss weight.
Right. Well, but if you don't technically miss weight, they don't take the purse. That's what I'm trying to explain. Kelvin did miss the weight. He didn't call him at 3 in the morning. So they took that function goes into play.
Look at this guy right here. He's still looking at it.
I feel like you're still not following me on this.
I follow you.
All right.
I'm just trying to ignore that you're trying to cheat again.
I didn't write the rule. I'm saying I don't like the rule. I think, and Kelvin's my guy, I thought that was the right thing. You got to give the guy a piece of your purse.
Yeah.
Ortega found a way around it.
Should it hurt Ortega or Lopez in the rankings say they win this fight? Because they're now not fighting in the weight class that they're both ranked really high.
Right. Well, there again, the way that it works within the rankings room, which will follow whatever rules they make up on the spot, and they won't even disclose themselves, but they'll put a ranking out at 9 a.m. every Tuesday, and we all have to live by it. But the way they will do it, if one guy misses weight and the fight goes off at a catch weight, the guy that made the weight is still eligible to be increased with the rankings. This is not a missed weight. That's a misunderstanding. If the commission was here right now, they would not tell you they missed weight because they officially changed it prior to getting on the scale. I know it sounds like a technicality, but this is officially a 55-pound fight.
Absolutely. 2 questions. Let's go. What we got? Show me. Go ahead, my man.
Hey, DC. One thing I want to know is, I know that Cain Velasquez has a case right now, but when is the UFC going to put him in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, man. I don't know. I think The moment he's eligible, he will be, and he should be. I will go to my grave with the idea that had the injuries not occurred, Cain Velasquez would easily be the greatest heavyweight of all time. He had everything.
He is the most intimidating heavyweight, and I'm including Mike Tyson and George Foreman. He is the most intimidating heavyweight I've ever seen.
He would beat us. When I first started, he would beat us. We would roll underneath the rope, and then we'd send a new guy in. We split rounds 2.5 minutes at a time between 6 of us. So you'd go get your butt kicked for 2.5 minutes, and then you get like 7 minutes to rest to go get your butt kicked again. I faked so many injuries.
To get away from Cain's workouts?
I was like, sneaking away from Cain, I faked so many injuries. Or I'd be like in the corner when they're like calling out Cain's partners, and I know that they're gonna call me, but I'm like next to the bag, like trying not to make eye contact. Sure. Because if I don't make eye contact, maybe, just maybe, I get to like beat on one of the easier guys in the gym and feel good about myself for a day. Because every day I fought him, I got beat.
When Randy Couture was champion of the world, he would stay in and we would rotate 5-minute rounds. But it would be me and Matt Lindland and Dan Henderson and Chris Liebman. Like, it was kind of a murderer's row. Randy would win all 5 rounds. He'd wear us all out.
It was amazing. All right.
Hey, Chael, just want to say thank you for finally legitimizing the Hall of Fame.
Very welcome. Thank you very much.
I'd love to know y'all's idea of the consequences of the main event. So does Alex move up? Does Yuri call for a trilogy? What do you think happens based on the outcomes of the main event?
Yeah, and it's so interesting, right? Like Dana White and Hunter Campbell can sit around and they can go make fights, except this one. Like, this one has to happen per the rules of our sport that were started by the Gracie family that had something called a Gracie Challenge. If you want a piece of Rickson, just come in the gym. But before you get it, you got to go through his black belt. Should you succeed, Rickson will be waiting for you, win or lose. And I only share with you, like, within our sport, when Glover Teixeira got beat, this fight was made. There was nobody that was going to get in the way of it. And now when they handled their business and now they're going to part 2, to your question, should they split? Rules of our sport say they have to go to the trilogy.
All right, guys, we have one last bit of this, and then I'm just going to spend 5 minutes taking your guys' questions. So, Chael, last thing I have to ask you about, Ian Gary and MVP, last big fight, but Ian Gary said this: I have no interest in this fight. I'm undefeated. I've beaten everyone they put in front of me. I fight up. I'm looking at the guys above me. All I have done in my career is win. I deserve to fight one of those guys. I have no desire to fight below me in the rankings. Is Ian Gary overlooking the challenge that is Michael Venom Page?
Let me tell you this, he has left no room for himself to fall, and most guys do. Most guys would talk about MVP, and he's really tricky, and he's got more experience than me, and it would be one of these things. And Ian Gary said, not only can he not beat me, he can't beat anyone in front of me. I don't even want to do the fight. I just beat number 6. Why would I want to go to number 13? Like, he's annoyed, and in all fairness, I really liked it. I really liked the attitude that he had, that he is not offering any apologies, and he's not accepting losing any moments or rounds to MVP. Like, MVP's a very intimidating guy because you can't prepare for him. You can't go get a training partner to do what MVP does. You get one crack at him, and it's going to be live. And Ian Gary is great, but he is by the book. He's going to feint you. He's going to throw a 1 followed by a 2. He's going to exit with a kick. He's really, really good at it. But MVP is really, really tricky. And I will just tell you this about that fight. As great as those guys are, that fight will not be back and forth. Whoever wins the first minute will win the first 5. They'll win the second round, the third round. One of these guys is going to dominate the other guy, but DC, I don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. I remember watching Michael Venom Page, and the only reason the Kevin Holland fight becomes a bit boring is because he is so good at what he does. He doesn't get touched, and then you start to watch him, and that's the dangers in fighting Venom Page. When you're just staring at him, taking note of what he's doing, you get lost. And that's what happened to Kevin Holland. I was talking to Venom Page earlier this week, and he told me he expects the same thing to happen to Ian Gary, but faster.
Wow.
He thinks that he can confuse Gary to the point that he limits him pretty harmless in the octagon. I don't know if that's the case, but watching him with Kevin Holland, I know that he can create so many problems and give you so much information that you can't really figure out how to take him out. And if he can continue to do that, he can be a matchup nightmare for everyone in the UFC.
If I can offer you this, if there's any hardcore fans and you go to the internet for information, you see a lot of stuff. Ariel Helwani put out maybe something today, and it was Ian Gary and clap out for Ariel Helwani. All right, there's his fan. I knew Ariel had a fan, and it's you. He's going to love to see this. I got to tell you, though, on a serious note, you're going to see MVP and Gary being really buddy-buddy. And just so you understand, that isn't one-side promotion trying to sell tickets and then they got caught on camera. That is one guy who tried to intimidate the other in the media, buckled, and now he's trying a new mental approach, which is to buddy up to him. None of that is real. It is all a tactic, and I'm only sharing that with you because I was as surprised as Ariel was to see these guys being nice, and I'd like to see who started that. Because whoever walked over and said hi is the one that folded.
Venom Page said that Ian Gary walked up to him afterwards and hugged him with his son after all the things that he said on the stage about him not being ready. He wasn't Bellator champion. How you going to win in the UFC? I think this is a phenomenal fight.
Oh, this is a great fight.
I think that Ian Gary gets a bit of a... I can't pick because I call the fights, which saves me because everybody's not mad at me anymore. Everybody gets mad at you guys for picking against them, but me...
I feel like you misinterpreted Nate Diaz, by the way. I felt like he was having fun.
He called me a bitch.
He was, but that's how he talks. Like he was talking to you in his like, hey buddy, hey bitch. You know, he was like, that's...
No, that's not how it was.
Really? Well, I thought like you were a little hard on Nate, I felt.
He said that B is not a real fighter. That's what he said.
You were the world champion. Like, come on, he was having fun, and you misunderstood. I feel like Nate Diaz is misunderstood. I really do.
I don't think that's the case, but you live with that. He's gonna listen. Nate Diaz is gonna take you saying that as a shot at him. Now you're gonna be chased down by Nate and George Masvidal.
Fair enough.
Questions.
Congratulations, Chael, on the Hall of Fame.
Could not have happened to a better guy, and thank you.
I agree. Your speech was phenomenal, saved the whole show. I have to ask, would it have made a difference if Anderson was there, or was it nice to have your own moment with your son? Or
I think it probably would have been different. Yeah, I would want Anderson to have his shine too. And I don't know why he didn't come, by the way. I was with him last week in Brazil, and he said he was going to be here, but the way he said it, I felt like he wasn't. Because just before that, I said, hey, well, I see you at the Hall of Fame. And he's like, what's that and what are you talking about? So I filled him in. He goes, oh, right, yes, of course. And so I kind of thought he wouldn't be there, but I don't think he has, like, static with the company. I think he just must have had something else to do. But I was kind of hoping he'd be there. I thought he deserved his moment. But in fairness, he's had plenty, man. He had a good career.
Anderson Silva, like, seems like a very busy man.
Yep.
Like, people like Anderson.
Yep.
They don't even like us, and we're busy.
Yeah, that's you make a fair point.
Next question. Hey, man, turn around. You're up.
Hey. They caught me with my pants down. Sorry about that, fellas. Congratulations, Chael, on the introduction to the Hall of Fame. Hey, DC, I love that clip where you're talking about your kid on the playground. You know,
yeah.
I'm that dad.
That little girl, that little girl.
Pushed Daniel down?
Was that?
The one that pushed Daniel down?
The one that pushed Daniel.
Yeah.
That little girl actually transferred to the high school that I coach at to wrestle for me. She became a state place winner and an All-American, and now she's going to Colorado Mesa University.
Probably because you're stretching her, huh? You're like, let me get you back for a little bit.
Yeah, she's good. She did really well.
Hey, congratulations, Chael, on the introduction to the Hall of Fame. I just want to ask, induction, sorry. I'm a little nervous. I love you guys.
You're the man.
Do you think, I feel like it was an early stoppage, Pereira and Yuri the first time around. I think that with Yuri's last fight, his durability, I know he has to stay away from Pereira's power, but I feel like Yuri is going to win this time.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people do. The odds makers officially, Pereira is the favorite, but it's close. Dustin Poirier picked Yuri. Ian Parker's as good of a bet man as I know. He's also picking Yuri. They both base the fact, though, that there was one completed round and Yuri won it. I just counter that argument just for conversation's sake to remind you, Pereira does his best work when he's run out of time. Pereira does his best work when you've already stolen a couple rounds. He does his best work when the house is on fire. This guy's a cardio machine, man. It is a lifetime of work to build up to the 5-round club. This guy stepped into it 4 matches in. He's a very special human being. I've never met the guy. Maybe I'm as big. I can't get comfortable with. Is that this chair? Steroids are supposed to like help your body. I feel like, man, I can barely move up here.
Well, it's because you've gotten too big. Guys, we only have 1 minute left, so we got one more question. I'll let you go, my guy.
All right, man. DZ, these questions for you, it's a little bit complicated, but...
Okay, hurry.
If you were competing this day and you were either at light heavyweight, would you think that you'd beat Pereira? Or would you rather... I'm curious. Or you were at heavyweight, would you drop down just for the competition itself? Or would you rather wait for Jones at heavyweight?
I'd love, Jones and I would just be fighting over and over again, because the reason we were always scheduled, because we were a lot better than the rest. That's why the belt stayed with us for 10 years. When you talk about Pereira, man, I don't know. The guy's a tremendous fighter. He's the world champion. And let me tell you something. It does not matter what you feel about yourself or the proof that is in the pudding. The active guy, you never put yourself over when you're the old guy. The guy right now is the guy, and that's Alex Pereira. So it don't matter what I could have done 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's what I do today. And what I do today is try to build guys like Alex Pereira, who's a phenomenal champion for the UFC, the guy that always steps up. Hey, I appreciate you guys so much for checking in with me and Chael. Until next time, I'm DC. That's Chael Sonnen. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.